What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and the Recon update has landed today in Generation 0. From a rebalancing of the DMRs in the game to a better approach to control points, the Recon update is bringing a lot of good with it here. We're going to be doing this update in two parts today. First off, we'll be talking about the patch notes and the update itself with all of the spicy good bits, and then we'll be talking about the bug fixes, the more under the hood stuff, as well as some of the known issues, because some of those issues are necessary for you dudes to know. So stay tuned for that second video later on today. But for now, let's get into these patch notes. The Recon update is here with some smaller additions and adjustments to the world of Ostertorn. This one is intended to improve some of Generation Zero's mid-game features and experiences. We've also got quite a bit in store for the rest of this year, some of which was originally intended to be within this update, but due to the size and complexity of some of the new features and content, we had to move these forward from the Recon update in favor of a more robust and meaningful release to follow. We'll have more words on that coming in dev letters and other communications, but for now, let's get to the core of what's incoming for Generation Zero. Now, this is really interesting to take note of here. If we have a really big and robust release to follow this, which is an interesting way of talking about an update, but if we have a robust update coming our way, then that means that there could be something really spicy coming our way either in the fall or the winter season here in Generation Zero. Talking maybe a new island, a new mainland DLC, who knows? It's hard to say at this point, but with future coming dev letters and communications, you dudes know that I'll be covering it all. Crafting has been a post-release addition to the game and has, up to this point, received only periodic attention. This is the start of some adjustments to crafting, apparel, and more that we believe will help create a more engaging, meaningful experience for players that enjoy this element of the Resistance. Rivals now drop apparel schematics in a more functional way. Quality levels will be dropped in sequence. For example, if you only have a Quality 2 schematic, the next drop of that type can only be a Quality 3 schematic, and so on. This was done to make the experience a bit more understandable for everyone, and subsequently relieve a problem of having gaps in a schematic line which players could not use. The stat effects of apparel schematics are roughly double overall, but some might fall a little above or below that. This is dependent on how they scale into the overall experience for players, as some might have been too powerful or imbalanced. The changes to the way rivals drop clothing schematics is really awesome to see. One of the hardest things about grinding those clothing schematics is when you start receiving clothing schematics that are all over the place, and you're just waiting for one that will progress you along the line that you're trying to finish. For example, bullet resistance. So it's really awesome to see that change come around, and it's going to improve the quality of life of grinding clothing schematics greatly here. As for the clothing stat changes, so far the only one I've tested is bullet resistance, but it seems like bullet resistance is now properly working in the game, which is awesome because alongside these changes, I had really hoped to see some of those non-functioning schematics start to function here. And so, we're going to be going into this a lot deeper in a video, probably tomorrow. I think it won't take too long to do the assessment of all of these clothing schematics at the maximum level, but I think that we're in store for some really good changes here. For South Coast control points, this is just a short aside for it. For those of you that are enjoying raiding Phoenix bases, we've also added 4 more control points to the South Coast region, and it's really good to see that the team was listening and added only just 4 points to the region, as opposed to adding like a bajillion. As we continue to welcome new players to the world of Ostertorn, we also continue to improve their first experience with the story. We've added more VO and world design elements to improve the next line of missions in the archipelago with the Veslin Bunker Warboard missions. These include calling for help, over and out, first contact, beachhead, and another castle. Players can now have a more anchoring and cohesive experience with these improvements, with a better understanding of the story as well as their surroundings. Additional tweaks and improvements. Quantity is now displayed in the HUD when picking up loot. increase damage per shot, and decrease the fire rate for the Kotenok and the S21 to make them feel more like DMRs. And if you're looking at the background footage of combat here, I think that this is a really good change to the designated marksman rifles of the game. They now are feeling much more like a DMR than they did before, and it's really good to see this change here. Next up, we have increased damage per shot for the AT Wad to compensate for the small magazine. And again, I'm just really glad to see these changes to the weapons. It would have been nice to hear along the way that the team had heard our, feedback and was, working on it or something like that. But either way, it's still awesome to see these changes come to the weapons and make them more usable and more viable. Next up, the weapon wheel now displays used up items as grayed out in the weapon wheel. Picking up more of the remembered item will automatically place it in the previous slot, which is really nice for if you forget what was in a slot, especially if you have an open slot for a long time. Next up, we have bad luck modifiers that are added to experimental weapon loot, and this is really awesome to see. This means that the chance of getting them increases if you've not gotten one over a number of attempts. So, my dudes, if you're missing anything like, the experimental KVM or, the experimental sledge or something like that, now you have a much greater chance of getting those through the process of grinding. The credits screen is also now updated to reflect the current team composition, which is really nice. Credit due where credit is due. And lastly, vehicles now use the same movement input as walking. This means that they will now rebind as you rebind your walking keys on PC. So, I gotta talk about this because I decided to look through the community posts, the Discord, the forums, and everything, just to kind of cross a couple bases before I made this video and posted this video to make sure that I'm bringing you dudes the most accurate information. And it's true because it was something that I had noticed myself too, was the lack of any, notes about bases being fixed here, Phoenix bases being fixed here, and they haven't been. This was one of the big things that the team had said was fixed and going to be fixed in this update, and is completely not fixed. It's pretty miserable to see, actually. I'm not gonna lie, man. All the other stuff is really good. It's great to see the weapon rebalancing and stuff, but seeing this still here in the game with a major feature so far later on down the road, it's just not good, man. It's just really not good. So, here we stand with the Recon update. There's been a lot of good, admittedly, with the crafting rebalancing and the weapon rebalancing. I think both of those have been necessary, long-time things that should have been communicated to us earlier that they were being worked on. We also have broken promises, in which case we have things that have been told to us that were fixed for this update that are not fixed, specifically in regards to the base assaults. There's still no progress or any word at all on assignments, which, apologies to you dudes out there that were hoping to see something about that in this update. Again, really, don't hold your breath on assignments. They probably will not be fixed for a long time. And outside of that, we do have a lot of bug fixes and known issues to go through later on here today. It's just a shame that some of the biggest issues were not addressed in this update. But either way, my dudes, I want to know, how do you feel about the Recon update? Is it good for you? Are you enjoying the weapon rebalancing? If anything, I advise you jump into Generation 0 and at least give these new weapon balancing changes a bit of a test spin, a bit of a test run here in the game. Honestly, I really feel like the AT Wad is a monster now, and the S21 and the Kotenok are sitting really, really nicely in the range of what a DMR should be in a video game. So, my dudes, again, let me know all your thoughts and feels in the comments down below. For now, thank you very much for watching my video. Likes are very much appreciated. If you haven't subscribed, maybe do so. But anyway, I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace out, my dudes.